The roar wasn't from pain, it was from rage. Through the wall of rain, Aaron Blake saw her. The massive lioness, shoulders like stone, eyes locked on the younger female sprawled in the mud. The younger lioness's flanks heaved with the strain of labor, blood washing into the puddles around her. Aaron slid down the embankment, boots tearing through sodden grass, the wind carrying the sharp scent of fear. He didn't know why the older lioness was here, but the way her ears were pinned back and her tail lashed left no doubt. This was no rescue. The younger lioness tried to rise, but her legs folded under her. A low, guttural snarl rumbled from the matriarch's chest, deep enough for Aaron to feel it in his ribs. She took a slow step forward, her paws almost silent despite the mud. Another contraction twisted the mother's body, a paw pushing into the world, tiny, fragile, impossibly new. The older lioness's gaze flicked to it, and something cold passed across her eyes. Aaron's breath caught. This wasn't hunger. This was elimination. He moved without thinking, splashing into the shallow flood between them, the rain soaking him to the bone. The matriarch froze, nostrils flaring as she sized him up. A soaked, shivering human between her and the cub she hadn't yet killed. The younger lioness gave a sharp, warning hiss toward him, but didn't strike. The air felt charged, like lightning about to split the ground. Aaron raised his hands slowly, staff in one, trying to make himself look larger in the sheets of rain. The older lioness stepped closer, muscles rolling under her coat, eyes never leaving his. Aaron planted his boots, ignoring the sinking mud. He could see the twitch of her whiskers, hear the slow, deliberate inhale before the sound burst from her, a roar so violent it rattled his teeth. He gripped the staff with both hands, heart slamming against his ribs. Behind him, the younger female let out a cry of pain that snapped his focus. The cub's head was out now, tiny mouth opening and closing, searching for air. The matriarch lunged. Instinct exploded in Aaron. He swung the staff in a wide arc, the wood smacking against her foreleg with a sound that made his stomach twist. She pulled back, more shocked than hurt, her eyes narrowing. For a moment the rain was the only sound, then she began circling, tail twitching low. Aaron pivoted with her, every muscle screaming from tension, the younger lioness whimpering behind him. The mother's paw slid into the mud, claws carving deep grooves as another contraction hit. The cub slipped free, slick, trembling, barely breathing. Aaron's eyes darted to it, but he didn't dare move. The matriarch had stopped circling and was now crouched, ready to spring. She knew he couldn't guard them both forever. A gust of wind sent water spraying into his eyes. When he cleared them, the older lioness was gone from his direct sight, and that was worse. He spun, scanning the sheets of rain, listening for her paws in the waterlogged earth. The younger lioness stirred, curling her body protectively around the cub. Then came the sound, soft, deliberate, from behind Aaron. He turned in time to see her silhouette rise from the grass, shoulders higher than his chest, her gaze fixed past him to the tiny life struggling for air. Aaron shifted his stance, drawing every shred of courage he had into one simple truth. If she wanted that cub, she'd have to go through him. The rain beat harder, flattening the tall grass around them. The older lioness moved in a slow arc, every muscle coiled for the next strike. Aaron's fingers were numb around the staff, but his grip stayed firm. He could feel the mother's gaze on him from behind, her breathing shallow, the faint squeak of the cub barely audible under the storm. The matriarch's eyes were fixed on that sound. She lowered her head, ears tilting forward, reading his stance the way predators read prey. Aaron stepped sideways, matching her angle, trying to keep his body between the two lionesses. The mud sucked at his boots, stealing speed, and the cold was creeping into his bones. The older female made a feint to the left, and his weight shifted before he realized the trap. She lunged right, teeth bared, closing the gap so fast the world blurred. He swung the staff up, feeling the jolt travel into his shoulders as wood met bone. A deep, throaty snarl rolled out of her as she recoiled, rain dripping from her whiskers. Behind him, the younger lioness made a low, guttural sound, not at him, but at the matriarch. Her golden eyes were half-lidded from exhaustion, yet there was a flash of something new. Defiance. Aaron risked a glance and saw her curling her body tighter around the cub, shielding it completely. She wasn't moving to flee, she was staying, and she wanted him to stand with her. The realization burned in his chest, a flicker of warmth in the cold. The matriarch circled again, but this time she didn't attack. Her gaze darted to the shadows beyond the grass line, and Aaron caught it too faint movement in the storm, the outlines of two more lionesses watching. The tension sharpened. If the others joined in, he wouldn't last a minute. He tightened his stance, his voice raw as he shouted over the wind, a sound meant to claim the space, to tell the intruders this was his ground. For a moment, the watchers stayed where they were. The older female growled low, the kind of sound that made the air itself feel heavier. She stepped in again, slower, forcing Aaron to back toward the younger lioness. Each step he gave up cost him space, and soon the matriarch was close enough that he could see the tremor of her nostrils, smell the warm, wild scent of her breath through the rain. She wanted him to break first. He planted his feet and didn't move. A flash of lightning lit the scene, the cub's tiny face peeking out from under the mother's foreleg. The matriarch's gaze snapped to it, and that was enough. She lunged. Aaron dropped low, jamming the butt of the staff into the mud and angling it upward. Her chest slammed into the wood, momentum breaking as she skidded sideways, claws tearing wet earth. She turned on him instantly, a paw the size of his head swiping so close he felt the wind of it brush his ear. He stumbled but stayed upright, boots sliding until they found purchase. The younger lioness made another sound, louder now, her teeth bared toward the matriarch. For the first time, the older female's ears flicked back, hesitation breaking her rhythm. Aaron took that crack in her confidence and pressed it. A sudden step forward, staff raised high, shouting with every ounce of force left in his body. It was enough to make her pause, just long enough for the wind to shift. The scent of something else carried through the storm. Distant, but strong enough for all three to notice. The matriarch's head lifted, her ears swiveling. She took one step back, then another, her eyes narrowing as she weighed the new threat. Without a sound, she turned and slipped into the rain, vanishing into the grass as if she'd never been there. Aaron's breath came in ragged bursts, his arms trembling. He turned slowly to the younger lioness, and for the first time she didn't bare her teeth at him. The rain eased for only a moment, enough for the wind to carry the sound, deep, rolling rumbles that didn't belong to thunder. Aaron froze. The younger lioness's ears pricked, her pupils narrowing. Out in the grass, shapes were moving, heavier than the matriarch, shoulders taller, strides slower but deliberate. Three males, their manes slick with rain, their eyes scanning for the source of the scent the storm had stirred. The scent of birth. Aaron's stomach tightened. He had read about it before, how new males kill cubs to bring the mothers into heat, wiping out the bloodline that's not theirs. He looked down at the tiny creature tucked under its mother's leg, its thin ribs expanding with fragile breaths. The males were coming for that. He stepped closer to the mother without thinking, feeling the tension ripple through her body. She didn't move away this time. One of the males roared, the sound swelling in the air like a wave. It rolled over them, so strong Aaron felt it in his chest cavity. The mother's body pressed lower to the ground, shielding the cub, her eyes locked on the shapes closing in. Aaron knew the flat ground here was a trap. Nowhere to hide, nowhere to run without being seen. He scanned the riverbank above them, the steep slope lined with slick roots and half-fallen branches. It wasn't safety, but it was higher ground. A flash of movement, the lead male breaking into a trot, tail raised, eyes fixed on the mother. Aaron's heart jumped into his throat. He didn't think. He moved. He slammed the end of his staff into the mud beside the lioness, startling her enough to make her shift sideways. "Up!" he barked, voice cutting through the storm even if she didn't understand the word. He stepped toward the slope, waving his arms, trying to draw her with him. She hesitated, torn between the cub and the instinct to face the threat. The lead male broke into a run. Aaron dropped low, scooping the cub into his jacket. The warmth of the tiny body against his chest jolted him. This was no longer a fight about territory. This was a life pressed against his heart. He turned and scrambled toward the slope, boots sliding in the mud. The mother moved then, launching herself beside him, claws finding purchase in the slick earth. Behind them, the roar came again, closer, angrier. Mud splattered Aaron's face as his boots slipped, his free hand clawing for roots to pull himself higher. The lioness stayed just behind him, her head level with his shoulder, teeth bared at whatever was closing in. A shadow leapt, the lead male, faster than Aaron expected. His paws hit the slope just as Aaron shoved the lioness upward, giving her the momentum to climb. The male's claws raked the mud where Aaron's leg had been a heartbeat earlier. He swung the staff down hard, cracking it across the lion's nose. A roar of pain exploded under him, vibrating through the ground. The lioness reached the ledge above, turning back to face him. For the first time, Aaron saw her eyes not as a warning, but as an order. Climb now. He drove his boots into the slope and pulled himself up. The cub still pressed tight to his chest, the male's roar chasing him into the sheets of rain above. The ledge bought them seconds, not safety. The three males paced below, rain sheeting off their manes, eyes fixed on the cub hidden in Aaron's jacket. The lead male tested the slope, his claws gouging deep tracks into the mud. Aaron stood shoulder to shoulder with the mother, the heat of her flank burning through his soaked jacket. She didn't look at him, but she didn't move away. That was all the permission he needed. Lightning lit her face for a split second. Lips curled back, eyes narrowed, breath rolling in short bursts of steam. The wind shifted, driving water into their eyes. One of the other males found a path through the brush to their left, climbing higher with each silent step. The mother saw him too, her muscles bunched under her skin, tail lashing low. Without warning, she sprang from the ledge, vanishing into the tangle of branches. A moment later, the night erupted, snarls, snapping wood, the grunt of impact as two heavy bodies crashed in the darkness. Leaves shuddered violently, shadows twisting in the strobing light of the storm. Aaron's pulse pounded so hard it blurred his vision. The lead male was already halfway up the main slope, using a narrow ridge to climb faster than before. Aaron backed toward the center of the ledge, the cub stirring faintly in his jacket. He could feel its tiny claws pressing against his shirt. His mind screamed at him to run, but there was nowhere left to go. Just the drop behind him and the predator in front. The male lunged over the edge, his paws hitting the ledge with a thud that sent droplets spraying. Aaron swung his staff, the crack against the lion's muzzle loud and sharp. The animal roared, swiping in retaliation. The paw caught Aaron's shoulder, spinning him sideways, pain searing down his arm. He hit the mud hard, the breath ripped from his lungs, but his arm stayed locked around the cub. Grit and rain filled his mouth as he scrambled to his knees. A blur of tawny muscle exploded from the brush. The mother, muzzle streaked with blood, fur bristled in battle rage. She hit the male like a battering ram, her roar splitting the storm. The force drove him back, claws ripping at the ledge, teeth snapping inches from her throat. Aaron surged forward, swinging his staff into the side of the male's head, wood splintering with the impact. The lion staggered, losing his footing just long enough for the mother to drive her full weight into him. They slid toward the edge in a snarling knot of muscle and mud. The ground gave way in clumps under their weight. Aaron dropped the remains of his staff, grabbed a root with one hand, and leaned out just far enough to kick the male's flank. The motion tipped him over, his roar fading as his body disappeared into the storm below. The ledge shook in the silence that followed, broken only by the rain hammering down. Aaron turned to the mother. Her chest rose and fell in deep, ragged breaths, her fur darkened by mud and rain. Her eyes fixed on the bulge in his jacket. He hesitated, then unzipped it, revealing the tiny cub curled against the warmth of his body. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then the lioness stepped closer, lowering her massive head until her forehead pressed gently against his knee, a gesture as deliberate as it was fragile. He crouched, hands trembling, and held the cub out. The mother took it in her jaws with impossible delicacy, the fur around her mouth brushing his fingers. She turned without a sound, walking into the tall grass, tail swaying low, the cub's tiny head just visible against her chest. Aaron stayed there in the rain, breath slowing, the warmth of her brief touch still burning against his skin. Somewhere in the distance, the thunder rolled again, but for the first time that night, it didn't sound like a threat.